Frederick Lang was 38 years old, a ghost in the halls of a government archive building somewhere in a cold northern European capital. Every morning at 7:30, he walked in carrying the same old briefcase, past rows of metal shelves stacked with forgotten papers, and vanished between the dust and silence. No one asked what he did, because no one cared. And Frederick liked it that way. Until that night. He had stayed late at the archive, doing overtime scanning old state contracts and relabeling them for digital storage. The building was dead silent except for the hum of flickering fluorescent lights. On the third floor, a heavy door marked "Authorized Entry Only" usually stayed locked. But tonight, a thin line of light spilled out from under it. Was it curiosity, a tired mistake, or something else? Frederick pushed. The door creaked open. The lock was broken. Inside, rows of tall metal cabinets lined the walls, red-stamped folders stacked high. On one shelf, a file caught his eye. Operation Frostbridge, final draft. He didn't know what it meant, but when he opened it, the first photo made his heart stop. A grainy picture, a man standing beside a black sedan somewhere at night. Below it, a handwritten note. Target cleared. The next pages listed names, dates, short reports, unexpected car crashes, missing witnesses, journalists who left the country. One line repeated again and again. Necessary for the state. Frederick's hands shook as he shut the folder, but his eyes jumped to another label. Discontinued assets, priority confidential. He pulled out the drawer. Inside, old cassette labels, encryption keys, some dated back to the early 90s. One note said, "Cannot be copied, cannot be stolen, cannot be caught." He tried to put everything back but noticed a small, unlabeled USB drive taped under the file, as if someone had hidden it there and forgotten. He slipped it into his pocket. Just then, down the hallway, footsteps echoed in the dark. Frederick killed the light, shut the drawer, and slipped out the door. But he felt a cold thought crawl up his spine. You saw it. Now you can't walk away. At home that night, his fingers still trembled. He opened his old laptop and plugged in the USB. One folder appeared. Watchmen. Inside were hundreds of files, scanned pages, financial records, black and white photos, old surveillance memos. Dozens of real names from different departments, ministries, secret units. Beside each name, one word: keep, remove, watch. At the bottom, he saw the name of his own supervisor. Next to it, active, under watch. He didn't sleep. By morning, he knew one thing. He couldn't tell anyone. No one would believe him. He needed a journalist, someone who knew how to disappear. And one name floated back: Henry Ivers. A decade ago, Henry had exposed a massive food scandal that embarrassed half the parliament, and then vanished. Rumor was, Henry still lived online under an old alias, Ghost Editor. At a public library, Frederick opened a hidden browser and sent a single line: "I have Frostbridge. Meet me." Hours passed, then a reply: "Midnight. Old North Station." At midnight, Frederick stuffed his laptop and the USB in an old messenger bag and stood in the shadows of the abandoned train station. Cold wind rattled broken windows. A shape stepped out from the dark. Henry, older now, hair turning gray under a battered coat. No words. Frederick handed him the USB. Henry nodded. But then, at the far end of the platform, headlights flared. A metal door slammed open. Two men in dark jackets, radios crackling at their shoulders, stepped out. Frederick felt his throat close. Henry leaned in and whispered one word: "Run." Frederick didn't think. He turned, jumped down to the lower platform, boots hitting the cold concrete. Behind him, footsteps pounded metal stairs. Henry's voice echoed once through the darkness. Uploaded. Frederick found a dead public Wi-Fi kiosk at the end of the platform. Knees shaking, he pulled the USB from his pocket, jammed it into the side of his laptop. He connected to an old leak forum. 5%, 14%, 48. He prayed the signal wouldn't die. Finally, the screen blinked. Upload complete. A breath of relief. Then a cold grip closed around his wrist. He felt the echo of an old whisper, a voice he'd never heard but knew was real. Secrets don't stay hidden. The next morning, everyone in the city saw Operation Frostbridge trending on dark forums. A photo here, a PDF there. Some said fake, some said real. Some people vanished. But Frederick Lang was never found. All that was left was a line spray-painted on the cracked brick wall of the old station. No accidents, only bad moves.